The last time Jupiter entered Cancer, it was June 2013. At the time, I wasn't into astrology. I didn't really know what was going on, but I did feel the energy shift. So much so that I dubbed it my Summer of George. If you know the Seinfeld reference, it's when George was laid off from his job and spent the next 3 months with severance, living his best life and trying all the things that he'd ever wanted to try. So let's get into my Summer of George. In 2012, I was finishing up my master's program in London, and by November 2012, I was back home and had accepted a job at a social media agency. It happened super fast. I knew that I probably should have waited and explored my options. I had just left London in September, October, but I felt pressure, parental pressure, to take the job, so I did. By the spring of 2013, I needed to get out because that cute job had ended up just being babysitting Facebook pages for Fortune 500 companies. And that's not what I saw for myself. I resigned in April 2013. And since I was still living at home, decided to give myself time to explore and chase my dreams. Before grad school, I was interning in the music biz. I was all over the place. I was networking in the music biz, going to events and volunteering. That was my passion. That was my dream. So I was going to give myself another shot to see if I can bring that dream to fruition. So from April on, I spent my weekdays at home, spiffing up my resume, sending out my resume, networking as much as possible, and just trying to find a job. When I wasn't doing that, I was just possessed to work out. And not at a gym, just in my home, doing Tabata burpees, doing like 5 sets of Tabata burpees and all kinds of endurance workouts. I don't know where it came from. I just had this burst of energy, and my body at the time just ended up being sculpted, chiseled marble, okay? I was in, more or less the best shape in my life up to that point. On the evenings, I also found myself just out a lot, meeting people. And funny enough, after watching a catfish marathon, I was inspired to sign up for online dating. In London, online dating wasn't a thing, especially at that time, like in the early 20 teens. So I was like, let's try this out. Signed up for OkCupid and was on these dates. Oh my goodness. It was so much fun. And on the weekends, out brunching with my friends, meeting people there too. And there's this one spot in particular that we went to at least once a week. Apparently, I had told one of my friends that I was going to be behind the bar someday at that establishment. From my lips to God's ears, because I don't even remember saying it. But after I had left my job, I decided to approach the owner of the restaurant. He knew me very well. I was always there. And I said, I have a proposition for you. If you let me train to bartend here, I will bring in clientele. He agreed, and it was such a beautiful time. There were times where my friends would just fill up the bar. Friends and family came out to support. They tipped, they drank, they ate, we had fun. And bartending was something that I had always wanted to do. Just in the back of my mind somewhere. It just looked fun as someone who, loved IPAs and mezcal, who was just into all of these funky things. I always felt like the restaurant industry would be a bit of a match in some way for me. So I bartended, I trained, I met amazing people. I actually ended up meeting a gentleman there. He was with, I don't know if it was his sisters or cousins or friends or whomever. It was a group of people. They were super cool, friendly, ordered a lot of drinks and food. We had a great time. Saying we had a great time like I was a part of the party. No, I told him my story. I just left my job. I was training to bartend. And he told me that he knew another bar owner and that he would talk to him and, try to get me in to train and work there. Ended up training and working at that other establishment just for a couple of weeks. Honestly, it wasn't a fit. It was a little ghetto, but it was an amazing, just expansive time. In no way, shape, or form did I imagine that I would be bartending like 2, 3 months after leaving my little corporate job. That was not in my plans whatsoever, but again, from my lips to God's ears. As the summer wound down, I forget if it was a text or an email from a mentor of mine, someone who I interned with um, in college. He ran a boutique label, record label, and he wanted to bring me on. He was actually managing one of my favorite artists, and he wanted me to do her social media. So for the next, I think it was probably, I don't know, 6 to 10 to 12 months. I forget how long I worked with them, but it was an amazing experience. Being at industry events, award shows, live shows, networking. It was definitely a little bit of a dream. But yeah, right after that, I moved right into a more stable consulting job, more corporate job. And from there, I just kept building my corporate experience through the consulting route. Definitely between June 2013 and June 2014, that was a period of time of expansion, just trying new things, meeting new people, going with the flow. And all of that is just to illustrate just how fun and beautiful and expansive and abundant a Jupiter in Cancer transit can be. So let's get into the specifics. I am not an astrologer. I just play one on TV. I'm just going to talk through some of the key themes that can happen when Jupiter is in Cancer. Emotional growth and intuition, expansion and opportunity, creating new beginnings, vulnerability and bonding, and self-care and well-being. So these are all things and more, of course. Just think about ways your life can expand and change for the better. Jupiter is the great benefic. It wants to give you an abundance. Just follow the wisdom. And for me in particular, I am a Cancer rising, and Jupiter basically spent this entire transit in my first house, which is the house of self, the soma, the personal identity, what is presented to the world. So basically, my identity, myself, went through a huge transition. And you can see that in all of the fun, I keep using the word expansive, but fun, expansive, different experiences that I had. This is a transit that all of the astrologers are looking forward to. Everyone thinks it's going to be a salve just for all of the pain and emotional trauma and everything that we're going through on this planet. But on a personal level, this is a time to lean into the gifts of life. You should be feeling the effects of this transit already. It's funny. I started doing calisthenics in my living room maybe 2 weeks ago, just out of nowhere, like hitting them hard, push-ups, dips, squats, all kinds of stuff, lunges. And my body is looking better than it did in 2013. I've been running 7, 8 minute miles. Jupiter in Cancer in my first house, doing all the things with my body. But yeah, this is a beautiful time to believe in yourself and lean into your dreams and try and do. You have help, so much help. Do you remember what June 2013 to June 2014 was for you? I'm curious to know. And have you set your intentions for this next transit? Get excited, y'all. Get excited.